Hey guys, talk about NEXI. Took two trades that one initially worked and got stopped out for what ended up being a small win, and then getting stopped out completely on the second trade. Yes, everyone remembers this ticker from when it halted. This is the ticker where it halted in the pre-market and opened 6 hours later, down 50%. Um, It's a delisting pump. Um, the business voted to dissolve the company. It's going to get sent to the OTC. The float's, under a million. Um, so it's kind of a special situation, kind of like MLGO, right? It's kind of like has a lot of special factors going for it. That being said, I wanted to trade my liquidity patterns. I thought, okay, this faded from the uh, from the previous day from 13 down to twos. Now it's doing some type of backside move. Strong market up 150, 200%. And we'll go over to two trades, right? The first trade has to do with, let me switch to yellow, has to do with something we've seen on FWBI and SXTC, where stocks that open near pre-market highs tend to have very little continuation. That's especially true when there's little to no pullbacks and the push and the squeezes are very aggressive. Again, look at FWBI or SXTC for examples. A lot of times you get maybe one push, which we saw right at market open, and then I was waiting for a second push to make a read, whether it's on the book or just based on the chart, or both in this case. Um, and I insta shorted the weakness, and I had an average in the 740s. So in this market, and I kind of learned this from the last time the market was really strong in April and May, to take some profits in around 15-20% in the money. So that's what this profit is here. Um, and then, yeah, I kind of, we see that we have we've seen this over and over again, this controlled walk down, right? Where, especially at market open on rig stocks, where you have down only weakness that gets rotated on, right? Over here. But a pattern we've seen over and over again is you get, a 10-10-30 rotation, right? This stops out backside shorts who might be shorting down here. And then, longs chase this push and they pull it and it goes down, right? So this is a very standard pattern. We've seen it a lot over the past month. So, uh, I was taking this profit. I was expecting a $7 rotation, and this one was overly aggressive. You can see how crazy aggressive this push is. They swiped six and they pushed it, and I thought, oh man, they're just gonna 1 minute flag it. This secondary push is gonna fail, and they're just gonna rug it. You know what I mean? This very standard low flow pattern. But it kind of hung around for 2, 3, 4 minutes, which is not good. And then I just used a book map to set my risk somewhere above 750s. I think what's crazy about both of these squeezes I got stopped out on is there was major slippage, major slippage. And I will say, um, one good thing about Trade Zero is Trade Zero's executions tend to be extremely good in terms of stop market orders. Compared to other brokers like Centerpoint and stuff like that, I've gotten much better executions on my stop market orders, especially on these types of squeezes where if you review the tape, this went from 7.5 to 8.7 pretty much instantaneously, right? So you have no idea where you got executed until you look at your orders, right? Your completed orders. And I always found that Trade Zero really, that they're bad in many other ways, but one of the things they're really good at is stop market orders without a whole lot of slippage. Their smart route tends to be pretty good, and I had some people in my Discord room get squeezed, a dollar over where they put their stop losses, right? Both on this candle and this candle, which is awful. You think you have 5% risk, and then it turns out you get stopped out for 15%, or 20%. It's awful. It's awful. It's an awful feeling. So at this point, I just consider this a super strong stock. And what we always learn about midday strong stocks is the move often comes much later, right? Especially if I see a big pullback like this. I see a bunch of lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Um, I'm almost always waiting for some type of aggressive rotation, right? And I was saying this in my Discord. I was like, I have an alert over 8.5. I'm not in the play. Maybe this candle wasn't too bad, this little $9 clear out, but I wanted to wait longer. I kind of learned that going in too early on strong stocks, especially post 10:30, when a stock is making new highs, trading millions of shares, I find it better to wait. Sometimes I said 15, 20 minutes bare minimum in the past, but a lot of times it could be an hour, hour and a half. You never know. Midday volume is just slower, so the liquidity moves that happen take longer to manifest, right? So I just wasn't in this trade. And then I saw this crazy aggressive move off of support, and it swiped all these lower highs. I was like, oh, this is a great short, right? Especially if these secondary pushes are, if they stall, or if they don't have a lot of bid follow up, or there's a lot of ask being stacked. And we'll look at the book map. There's a lot of ask being stacked right up here, without a whole lot of bid follow up. So I took that. I was in the 840s, and then I got the move I wanted. It was fading. I was like, oh, this is great, but like it wasn't really fading how I wanted. It was like slow, grindy fade on like zero volume down here, and I was like, this type of fade where it starts trading, sub 10,000 shares per minute, and it's not really making these like liquidity cracks, right, where longs are being stopped out, and it's not attacking these key support levels, like, it's not good. It's overall very not good, right? But I like this pattern so much that I just held through it, and there was a big ask right at 8.6, so I put my risk right above it, and I got executed like 8.65s, and maybe or low 8.6s on some of them. It was multiple executions, but um, yeah, shout to Trade Zero. I had people who put the same risk in my room who got stopped out up here, and it's just up to your broker sometimes. It's just sometimes the slippage on these low flow stocks gets you. So we'll go over the book. So we'll go over, let's see, So first of all, in the pre-market pop, like this was just grinding on relatively low volume. It was just grinding. I hate low volume grind. You really like to see the volatility um, in a stock, and I really saw nothing during the entire pre-market um, that on the book that showed me some type of like order book imbalance. This was just really grindy. Here's making new high, making new high, making new high. This candle made a new high. This candle made a new. When stocks are just constantly making new highs and super grindy. Like what I really want is I want like a pullback. A lot of times so like the 5-minute 9, 1-minute 50, and then I want some type of higher low structure and some type of push. Um, and I wasn't really getting any of that, right? And I was like, man, this thing is just grinding. It's grinding. There's nothing on the book. But I told my room, I'm like, hey, we've seen on FWBI and SXTC, like these stocks that open near highs have been fading really hard, right? So, and this just shows that, this pattern's not always going to work, but, there's a good thesis behind it. So we'll look at the market open book map, and we could see what was kind of happening here. So we had a 9:30 a.m. Sorry, I think my book map is in Central Time, because that's what I live on. So yeah, so here's 9:30 high day clear out. It pulls back. It's crazy. I never short 9:30 because you get crazy moves like this. In most situations, maybe once in a while I'll take a 930 short, but if I have some really really good thesis of why I should take it, but overall, I like to wait for the consolidation. I saw this big bid come down here, and big bid doesn't always mean it's we saw CING at market open um, the day it initially faded 35-40%. We've seen big bids hold a stock up, it makes some type of bullish push, and then it comes down and takes out the bids, right? Especially I liked, a big reason I shorted this. So, um, and I noticed there's this 750 level here, and I'm like, all right, it'd be great if it squeezed this level towards high day, right? So I was waiting, I was waiting, I was waiting, um, and we got our big 750 squeeze, and I love that there's no bid follow up. I like that, and I was very bearish the stock opening up near its pre-market highs, right? So I actually went right in, right here. You can see this dump. This is where I was shorting the stock. No bid follow up, so it just dumped, and ultimately I was just risking the 780 ask, which was right at high day. And yeah, I got the reaction I wanted, and it started going straight down, and it was great. So we could go, go back to the go back to Thinkorswim here, and you could see um, this 750 push on this candle, right? Because I don't like going in right away at 932. I really like to see at least, I usually like to see at least a minute or two of consolidation. Um, Only if the book is overly, giving me a signal. I think I took a short on, um, God, was it? It wasn't ABVC. It was some other ticker last week where I did go in at 932. It just depends on the book, depends on the structure, depends on the bids that show up, that type of thing. But here's that moment I was talking about where we got, you get your little support swipe right here. They throw up a bunch of bids and they rotate it. I was like, all right, guys. I was saying on my Discord, I'm like, the next push is really going to determine whether this squeezes or whether it's a retail long trap that pulls, right? And I was already short from this candle over here, so ultimately I was looking. If you look at this rotation, I was looking at this ask at 750 right here. So and then there's an ask at 8 because now, um, given how sometimes I will adjust my risk a little lower just purely based on the fact that this type of move should go down, right? This type of you could see the wick right here. You can actually see people kind of shorting it, right? This little wick right here, and this starts to struggle. But as soon as this starts catching the 1-minute 9 and rotating, I'm like, oh man, if this squeeze, you could see the 750 flat top right here. I was like, oh man, if they squeeze 750, I need to get out. Um, so I put my stop at 750s. I did get a little bit of slippage, but it was only like 10 cents. It wasn't like some massive amount of slippage. And yeah, I got stopped out. And yeah, here's that super aggressive. You can see the painted lower highs. You can see how aggressive this move. In many cases, this is a A+ short pattern in low flow land, right? Especially midday. Got painted lower highs, aggressive move, little retail long trap. I like to show. I wish I got like above. I should put limit orders above 850, but I kind of wanted some confirmation that it was weak. I wish I was big brain enough to put like 855s or something, like put my limit orders on the book and get filled in the 850s. Um, but yeah, man, this is you could see how low this volume got down here. These were like 10K candles, and I'm like, oh man, dude. And then once it started rotating back up here, I was like, this is really, really not good. So again, the way I determine risk on that, I love using book for the risk because you could see that there was a huge order at 860 here. So I was like, well, 860 is right where the painted lower high level is. So if that and this was like 40,000 shares. I'm like, if this ask gets taken out, it could just squeeze straight up. There's really nothing. There's one guy at 9 because there's always going to be people at whole dollar, half dollar. But Yeah, and I had people in my room who put their risk right into 860s right here. You could see, look at all the orders going through. Completely insane. Like it just skipped. Look at this instantaneous skip, dude. Look how quick. This is like literally 11:51:57, 11:51:59. So this is 2 seconds, right? This is a 2 second squeeze. Um, almost a dollar and a half, right? And yeah, I feel bad for the people whose brokers just didn't execute them where they wanted, and and what do you call it, and they took a way 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 bigger loss than they were expecting. It's not fun. Um, and then in terms of this fade, I actually can't even remember something like this happening where. Usually, if you get a fat high day clear out like this, there's usually at least some bounce, even if they're going to fade it, even if this high day clear out is going to fade into end of day. I was at least expecting some type of push up towards a 9. You know what I mean? Some type of like shake out the backside shorts. Like it's been a while since I've just seen like a slow, thin unwind out of a super strong stock that gave some super insane high day clear out. Like it's been a while. Um, I've seen a fade like this. It's really not normal, right? But then again, it kind of makes sense that like pretty much every short who is hitting this, hitting this, hitting this, hitting this is no longer in the stock. They did this crazy liquidity move up here. Um, and now every short has gotten burned and it's just rolling over and dying. And if there's a lack of short sellers in a stock, um, the stock will fade even harder. The less shorts in a stock, the harder something fades because less people are covering, and there's just less support on the way down, right? So shorts give support to stocks that are fading, right, um, through their covers, and then yeah, and then it's going to be a lot of long dip buyers because obviously the stock was rewarding dip buying, and then suddenly it's just no liquidity in the stock, that type of thing. So yeah, a little annoying on this one. Did the best you can. Usually this market open, especially these stocks that are extended 150, 200%, opening up near pre-market highs. Usually this almost like I will look for weakness right away, like I did on the book on this candle. Um, and then yeah, this is a great little liquidity backside of liquidity swipe into. I thought this was just going to unwind, and I had a great average. I was in the 839, I think, something like that. So yeah, it just did not work out. And at least I was able to take some profit down here, because I was in 740, was taking some profit near 6, somewhere down there, and um, I was able to move my risk to a level before, below, right during the beginning of the squeeze, and same thing over here, right? Just using bookmap to determine what my risk should be because I could see how empty the book is, and also I could see how the chart pain is, right? You can form a thesis of where shorts are risking, and you see the lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, just like lower highs, big squeeze. So you know where shorts are at, and you know what they're risking. So if it starts breaking through these lower highs, it could really squeeze. So yeah, this was a tough one, man. Who knows what's gonna happen? Um, Weird fade. So that's about it for NEXI. I'll make a quick ABVC video, and yeah, hopefully, hopefully these patterns. I really thought this pattern was gonna work. I was like, this is A plus. This is really really good. Uh, but yeah, it just be like that sometimes. So, all right, have a good one, guys.